I haven't really touched on this other than in passing, but this is happening not only in Panama City, but I'm seeing it happen in Panama City Beach. There is a movement afoot, a trend for local governments at the very time we're worried about, the people are worried about flooding, are worried about raw sewage. At the same time, they are, the city government, the county government, getting grants and awarding big contracts to their friends for God knows what kickbacks in order to build more impervious surfaces, to tear down hundreds of trees and clear out the vegetation and the bushes and pave over sand on beaches. This push for sidewalks and this push for paid parking and an eminent domain that nobody wants. Oh, Bernie, there's some people who want it. Sure there are. Chris Forehand wants it. Panhandle Engineering and his friends and the people on their payroll. Yeah. It's when you hear people say, oh, we really, really want to shorten to narrow Beach Drive, historic Beach Drive. We want to make it real narrow. It's already narrow. You know Beach Drive, historic downtown, about a mile and a half. Some fancy people live there. And it's a narrow road from their front yard, narrow road, little sidewalk there, narrow road, and then the trees and the little beachfront and the bay that incidentally is being polluted with raw sewage all the time. All the time. And I almost never hear Panama City commissioners ever talk about it. Oh, but they always talk about how we love our community, want to beautify our community. I don't believe you. You want to tear down 200 plus trees in a tree city? Oh, I got a story to tell you about Tree City, Panama City. I couldn't believe it when I moved here. Oh my God. Well, I arrived in Panama City in 2007. Some people say, we wish you never would have come. I know. I get it. But when I got here, oh my God, there was a story about trees in Panama City and code enforcement. I couldn't believe what an environmental tree city this place was. I'll tell you about that, and I'm going to show you pictures and tell you what's happening tomorrow in the destruction of Beach Drive that more than 80% of the people who live there do not want, and the only people who pretend to want it are people on the payroll of fake PR firms and other artificial supporters. Boy, I tell you what, they're good. The local cartel, they're really good at they actually hire people to troll, to make fake accounts. Oh, how do you know, Bernie? Because they show up at the same time. Because it's unoriginal. Because it's like the seasons. I see it over and over. The same routine. All right, all that coming right up.
Have you received a speeding ticket for which you want no points placed onto your driving record? I'm El Saulene, 850-215-0628. Let me help you.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. So I've been going to the Panama City Commission meetings, and ever since Mayor Greg Brudnicki, the longtime incumbent, got beat. Oh, that's so funny. By Doc Rowan, by Mayor Doc Rowan now. And boy, the commissioners are freaking out. All the big contractors are freaking out. The St. Joe company's freaking out. And the same thing with the other new mayor in Mexico Beach. But so when I got here, I started on the radio, Talk Radio 101. Who remembers that? 2007. Little slow start, but then the boot camp case came, and then things just took off, right? You remember the big show? And there was a story in Panama City. Code enforcement fined a couple, a man and a woman, Wayne and Ingrid Andrews. I'll never forget it. They code enforcement fined them $78,000 for cutting down trees on property that they had just bought. And it was a disaster. It was like a little jungle. And they cleared out they went and they got the permits from the city, but they didn't get them in triplicate and they didn't do handstands long enough for the code enforcement. So the code enforcement fined them $78,000 for cutting down what kind of trees? Popcorn trees. Not even native trees. Invasive species of trees. But Panama City takes trees very seriously. How do I know? Because they flew a helicopter. They didn't have drones working. They flew a helicopter over this family's home. It was actually it wasn't their home. It was a property they bought. They were clearing out. And they took pictures. And then they had all these, back in the day, 2007, they had rulers and straight edges. And they were showing how big the trees were, how many trees were cut, the circumference of the trees. They had all this math going on, people looking over fences, probably sneaking in. Oh, it was a terrible crime. But Panama City code enforcement said they were being reasonable. This is right when Scott Clemens was elected, when he beat Mayor Lauren DeGeorge. Do you remember that? Lauren DeGeorge, who was elected, I think, 2005 and 2006, and then in 2007 there was another election. Scott Clemens came in, and then the cabal was restored, and things ramped up again. And, man, I'll tell you what, Panama City said they were being reasonable because really it was $200,000 and some worth of fines. But their magistrate, their code enforcement judge, oh, I forgot his name. Somebody tell me his name. Do you remember his name? It was the code enforcement magistrate back in the day. It's right on the tip of my tongue. It's a funny name. I mean, I got a funny name too, so no big deal. Anyway, they said they were reasonable because they dropped it down to $70,000. And I talked about, you know me, I get my teeth into something. I talked about it all the time. It was unbelievable. So this Panama City loves their trees. Boy, Tree City. You know, we should look it up. Somebody look up trees. There's got to be, Panama City is a tree city. Let's look this up. Panama City. Tree City. Environmental lovers. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's see here what pops up. Panama City trees, tree care. Okay, tree care. A bunch of people who cut down trees. Tree removal. Stump removers. All right, I don't see it. But I guess I should have done the research. You got to look it up on Panama City. And if there's any commissioners watching or anybody, you'll see that they have they probably get grants. They get awards. They get to stand up at the meetings and take bows and say, look how much we care about the environment. We're a tree city. But they're going to cut down 200 and some trees on Beach Drive? Didn't we lose enough trees after Hurricane Michael? You know, this is the most important thing I'm going to say all day. This is it. If you only hear one thing and leave with one thing, this is the most important thing. You cannot simultaneously do these things. You cannot improve the flooding situation, mitigate flooding, while at the same time cutting down trees and adding impervious surfaces. Can't do it because when the water hits the ground, when the rain hits the ground and it hits the sand or the dirt, what happens? I mean, we know this, right? It absorbs into the soil where it belongs. When they tear down the trees and they build a gigantic sidewalk, a multi-use path, Bernie, it's a multi-use path. You should walk it sometime, get a little exercise. You cannot do that. It's kind of like this. There are certain things, like in government, in politics, and this stuff, there are certain policies that have consequences attached to them. For example, you cannot have a country with completely open borders and welfare. You can have maybe one or the other, but both of them can't do it. Unsustainable. Impossible. And the same is true with this. You know, it's not even I'm right. It's just true. So if you want more shit, raw sewage going into that bay, which it already is completely infected with pollution because the Panama City commissioners are hell-bent on giving Chris Forehand and panhandle politics. Didn't he already steal enough money? Bernie was never convicted, indicted now. Now, he did get some kind of deal from the feds. You know, he's got immunity. We don't know what the federal crime was, but he got immunity. So, lay off. But, I mean, he's the one that's getting, he is the engineer of record, the contractor. He's the one that's going to be getting all the money. I mean, lots of money. So far, it's $9 million to do 1.5 miles. How much do you think it's going to end up being? I'm going to bet by the time it's over with the work orders and the additions and the extra grant money, free money, I'll bet you it's going to be north of $20 million. And if the Sheriff's Public Trust Unit starts cracking down on it, it might go up to $25 million. Yes, I mean, looking throughout history, that's kind of how things go. This is incredible. Let me show you what it looks like. Tree City. Cutting down 200 plus trees. Have you seen that area? Imagine if you lived there. You bought a home there. You know, I got to tell you something. It's one thing to buy a home in an area, and you know that if you buy a home here, there's a lot of development around there, right? You buy a home in an area, there's a lot of acreage, and you're told, hey, they're gonna build around here. It's gonna be really nice. And you go, that's what I want. But it's another thing to build a home or to buy a home in a well-established historic area where even the smallest homes are probably $1 million. Right on the water. Used to be beautiful water. And then they changed the rules on you. That is the worst part of government. That is a violation of government. See, look, man, this is another important thing. My second most important thing. The rule of law. It doesn't mean that you can't, you got to stop on a red light going, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the rule of law. The concept that government should apply the law equally to everybody. Treat everybody the same. That's the rule of law. And there's a second part to it. That people can plan their lives because the rules don't change all the time. They're predictable. And people can run a business because the rules are predictable. It's a violation of the rule of law. A fundamental tenet of freedom and liberty and happiness. If the government's always changing the rules on you all the time, and they treat some people different than other people, those are violations of the rule of law. That's when the rule of law becomes the law of rulers. And that's what you see right now in Panama City. The law of rulers. I'm seeing people go up there who have the most invested in this whole thing. The people who live there. It's always the people who live there that get screwed by their own people. But Bernie, we got to grow. We're thinking ahead. Move forward. Move forward. I've seen so many people go up there. There have been surveys and polls done. Who wants this? Who doesn't want this? Overwhelmingly, more than 80% of the people don't want this. And the people who say they do want it, it just looks bad when there's PR firms, when the same people are getting the contracts, same people who are unethical as all get out, the same people who in Lynn Haven conspired with the city manager, Vicky Gaynor, to get rid of James Finch. That was But we got away with it, Bernie. Nobody was convicted. Yeah, well, the lawsuits are now happening, and that's going to be super interesting. But how you can defend that kind of stuff? What kind of person are you? The same people tearing up trees, putting slabs of cement. At the very time you've got millions of gallons of raw sewage polluting the waters. It's just unbelievable. Oh, God, just let me show you about it. Here it is. This kind of stuff. So this is a group here of people who are trying to say to the government, we don't want this. And it's preservebeachdrive.com, a group of citizens. The only power they have is to try to petition their government for redress of grievances, which is what? A right guaranteed by the First Amendment of the Constitution. But these politicians say, we know better than you. We know better than you. We need to make the road even more narrow so that emergency vehicles can't go by. We need to put impervious surfaces there so we can increase flooding. We need to spend $9 million. It's going to be more like probably $20 million. So our buddies in the contracting and engineering business can get inflated contracts so we can get our kickbacks. And so we can set up the next stage of the takeover of people's private property. Kind of people, man. So I'm going to show you a few pictures in case you don't know this area. I looked here and I saw there's a petition, environmental impacts. I'm just click that. Yeah, here it is. This is Beach Drive here. Oh, look at that. That's back in the day. See all that green on the left, all the vegetation, the grass, the trees. See all that? I mean, that's what they wanted. A mile and a half of that. Commissioner Jenna Halligus, Commissioner Josh Street, Commissioner Brian Granger, and Commissioner Janice Lucas. They want to tear that down and put concrete there and make it a multi-use path because they need a sidewalk there. When really, if you look at the other side, on the north side, in front of the homes, you could actually see, this is what they're talking about doing all over the place. Oh my God, wait till you hear this. They're actually, so would you agree that a good modern infrastructural improvement would be to take the poles, especially in a hurricane-prone area, and harden the infrastructure and have real true underground utilities? That would be a good idea. That's something the government should do. People want that. They could do it right there. They call it sinking it. They could put underground utilities on the north side of the road, and you could make the sidewalk twice as big. If that's really what they wanted to do. But that's not what they want to do. And incidentally, also in a good community, you wouldn't have the state senator, Jay Trumbull, when they are now going to start doing underground utilities, that kind of construction. They're going to start doing that. So guess what? 6 months ago, you get the state senator, Jay Trumbull, who starts an underground utilities company. Look at that. Jay Trumbull starts an underground utilities company called TNS Construction Solutions. It was started mid last year. Now, that's quite a deal, isn't it? And he's already getting contracts from the city. I've asked for them. The city says they don't have them, but we know they do, and we're working on that. How much do you think Jay Trumbull knows about underground utility construction? Do you know his company, what you're looking at right there, already has damaged pipes and caused raw sewage? How much? Let's see. 70,000 gallons of raw sewage Jay Trumbull, because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing with underground utilities, breaks a line, and then the city lies and says it was a different company. And I had to call and say, no, put the right company down. And by the way, guess who owns it? State Senator Jay Trumbull, who's got people out there digging and plowing and pushing giant tractors and breaking pipes, causing raw sewage. Look at the beautiful, look how beautiful. But no, all that gone, raw sewage in the water. These people are so reckless and irresponsible. Let's see. See that right there? No, we don't want that. We want right up there. See that right up to the grass and the tree. Look at the shade and the cover that the homes get. Oh man! Imagine buying a home there and you say, "I don't care, Bernie. I don't like rich people." Okay. All those trees, look at that. Let's get rid of that. Let's just flatten it out, make a multi-use path, and then keep having more raw sewage in the water. All right, I'm going to tell you what you can do about this, because tomorrow at Panama City Beach City Hall, they are unveiling their design plans. And guess what they're supposed to have on the design plans? They're supposed to have a couple of different design plans, and then they're supposed to have a third option. I have a feeling the third option that people get to vote on is not going to be there, and I'll tell you what it is right after this.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at, right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan could make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at pcairrepair.com. All right, let's take a look at this. So tomorrow at City Hall, at 5 o'clock, Panama City Hall, 501, what is it? 501 Harrison Avenue. The big new fancy City Hall in the rotunda. And they got a big rotunda because it's so big because they forgot to put a meeting room in the new City Hall. I mean, these people, they can't even think to put a new meeting room. Well, we built a beautiful City Hall, big giant rotunda, but we got to go to the Bay County government building to have our meetings. These are the same people that are going to do all this stuff here. So tomorrow at 5 o'clock, they're going to unveil, the big reveal of the design plans. And they're supposed to say, okay, here's choice number one for you get to vote on it. Choice number 2, design plan, lots of concrete, no trees. Oh, Bernie, we're going to plant trees. We're going to plant our kind of trees. Okay. We're going to plant probably palm trees. They like to do palm trees. We're going to have areas where people can pay to park. Bike paths, big giant bike paths. So you can be safe riding your bike down there. Okay. What about the cars and the narrow roads and the new blinky lights where people get to cross the street with little blinky lights on Beach Drive? The first time somebody's hurt there, that's on you. That's on you, Panama City commissioners. But Bernie, it's not on me. If the experts told us it would be safe. No, nobody's falling for it. Nobody's falling for it. That's the one good thing about Bay County lately, is people are not buying the bullshit anymore. There's a lot of people not buying the bullshit. Just ask Mexico Beach, ask Panama City, and Panama City Beach coming up. And the sheriff's office and the state attorney's office. I mean, there's a lot of people no longer buying it. They're tired of it. Stop gaslighting us. Stop tearing down the trees and telling us you're Tree City. Stop paving everything and telling us that you're helping with the flooding situation. Stop polluting the bays and telling us you care about clean water and resources where we can live, work, and play. Live, work, and play. We're on to you. And at least we still have votes. May not have anybody who will hold people accountable for the criminal behavior, but at least we have votes and good people running for office. Boy, they are worried, by the way. All over the place, they're worried with elections coming up. So tomorrow, 5 o'clock, Panama City, City Hall. You can see their choices. But here's what I think they're going to do. I'm going to show you more of this stuff here in a minute. But let me get back to this. Here's what they're going to do tomorrow. They're going to have what they're supposed to do. The city, Jonathan Hayes is, I'm sure will be there. Jonathan Hayes is the new city manager. Very dishonest. Hey, Jonathan, that $500,000 of grant money floating around. You remember you just, there's a lady goes up there all the time telling you about it, Jennifer. You guys always would go up there and she'd go up there and lay it out, and you guys would always just ignore her as though she doesn't exist. I was at the last meeting and I saw this lady walk up there and she lays out all these facts. Hey, you know, you can repurpose the $9 million. No, we've been told many times, State Senator Jay Trumbull's office, and this is what they say. The Panama City Commissioners, they walk around. Do I have another picture of this? They walk around saying, let me use this one again. We got an email from State Senator Jay Trumbull's office, and it says that they can't repurpose the money. You mean the same guy that started TNS Construction Solutions? That's trying to get repurposed money for his new company to build underground utilities? I mean, damn, can't real qualified people get these jobs? Or does it always have to go to the same people? Yeah, but Bernie, they've got a great engineer. His wife? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. What was I saying? I just totally lost what I was saying. I'm so pissed off about this. Oh, yeah. So she goes up and gives all this information. But there's an email. Yeah, but there's also contracts and grants that you've received exactly like this one that have been repurposed. And you did it a few times, and now you've got $500,000 floating around for the last few years that you're hoping to send to some spend it in a certain. I wonder where you want to spend that $500,000 that you've been floating around. We found it. You say, Bernie, you didn't find it. Hey, I wouldn't find anything without good people who know how to find stuff. Okay. So when Miss Sarah Moon finds something, I found it. When this lady, Jennifer, who's been telling them for I don't know how long, but man, I was there, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, something like that. And she went up there and they just ignore her. Nothing pisses me off more than when you've got these commissioners sitting on high, looking down at the people, and they have serious questions, substantive questions, documents. And the commissioners act like they don't exist. Nothing pisses me off more than that. And I was next in public comments, and I said, whoa. That lady sounded like she had a point. And from now on, I'm going to echo her point. When I learn about what she's talking about, if she's right, I'm going to echo it. And so here we are. And then the city manager, Jonathan Hayes, said, yeah, they're actually, we have just discovered this $500,000 floating around, and we're going to look into it. We take this matter very seriously, and we're going to come back with a report on it, right? We're going to get a report, staff report on the... We might need another joint legislative auditing committee. We might need it like they did in Mexico Beach. Hey, look what Mayor Michelle Miller did in Mexico Beach. Mayor Doc Rowan, do you think he watches the show? If Mayor Doc Rowan watches this show, Mayor, I have an idea. Find out how Michelle Miller, the mayor in Mexico Beach, how did she get the state legislative auditing commission, whatever, to vote to send in the auditor general, because now they're looking under desks, pulling out drawers, looking in the attics. They're finding all kinds of stuff in Mexico Beach. It's so bad in Mexico Beach, they got $100 million in FEMA money. It's so bad that last week, the city attorney resigned. You say, Bernie, he didn't resign. Okay. Well, his contract had expired. And he read a statement at the meeting why he doesn't want to return. Don't bother with another contract. I need to get out of here. It's ridiculous, Bernie. That can't be true. They've got a FEMA consultant. Yeah, a company called Atkinson, and the consultant's name is Ryan, except for Ryan resigned and moved to Europe, from what I hear. Ryan, if you've come back to the States, call me and I'll correct that. And by the way, the city administrator, Doug Baber, and the young guy, Michael Manning, his assistant city administrator. Remember, they got a better job in Crystal River. They got an actual manager job instead of just an administrator job. They got a manager job down in Crystal River, Florida. And about 6 months ago, they moved down there for this big job. Doug Baber and then Michael Manning. They read statements too. They've been run out of Crystal River already. Wait till I read you the emails. See, their staff didn't take the stuff. And they already have been run out of town. And the state auditors are asking them questions about what they were doing in Mexico Beach with that $100 million, especially the $44 million. If the state auditors are watching, look for the $44 million in debris cleanup. That's where it's at. Anyway, so what I'm saying, Mayor Rowan, is you might want to write a letter to the state auditing committee and have that say, gosh, we got $500,000 floating around. And Jonathan Hayes, our new city manager, he says he's looking into it. And the $9 million that we got in a grant to pollute the water on Beach Drive and tear down 200 plus trees, narrow the road, put little blinky light pedestrian things for people to walk across Beach Drive. Yeah, that money can be repurposed. And the city's been lying about that for how long? The city's been lying about that for ever since Mayor Rowan's been there. Now, because this lady keeps going back up and saying, hey, I've got proof. Now they have to say, we're going to do a report on that. We're going to get on that too, says Jonathan Hayes. So tomorrow, Jonathan Hayes and the rest of the staff, they're going to be presenting the options. Got option one, to tear down the trees and lay down a bunch of concrete. And then here's the second way we could do it. But what they're supposed to do is have a third option that says no path. But they don't want to do that because last time it was like 80% of the votes. They're going to need to buy a whole lot more fake supporters. Seize the day. Or whatever the hell. But I think the problem with that is fake supporters are only there as long as they're getting paid. And people who really give a damn until things are fixed. Anyway, this is happening. If you want to go tomorrow and see the big the big reveal, the mayor has asked that they provide the third possible vote. See, this is going to be online too. Like you can go tomorrow and watch this unveiling of the designs. And then vote on 1, 2, or there better be a third one, no path. But people are saying that they're probably not going to include the third choice. and you have to write it in. Well, city manager Jonathan Hayes says there's going to be an online place that you can vote after tomorrow, after they unveil it. And they better have a third choice. The mayor certainly wants a third choice. Yeah, but Bernie, he's only 1 out of 4. Well, you're only 4 out of 4, and there are lots of people who are watching closely the way you continue to throw down concrete and worsen the flooding and try to hide the fact that you've got raw sewage going in our waters, polluting our waters, just so you can get more contracts to your favorite engineer from God knows how many millions more dollars and millions more after that. I just had to sort of break this down and introduce this to you if you haven't heard about it. But what you're seeing in Panama City is happening also in Panama City Beach and probably in Callaway. But it's happening. It's like a plan from on high, and all the cities and municipalities, all the counties, they all get their marching orders because we want these things to connect eventually. Because that's part of another big, giant plan. At what cost? I mean, really at what cost? Not just the grant money. At what cost to the legacy of Panama City, to the historic scenic beach drive, to the water that keeps getting more and more polluted, to the shade canopy, to all the trees in Tree City. I don't ever want to hear another. I swear, I'm going to just flip out if I ever hear any of them talk about we're a Tree City. We care about the trees. When they go there with their chainsaws and tractors and start cutting down those trees and ruining, devastating that beautiful historic area, I'm going to be there recording it for posterity's sake. Because you know what? I'll end with this. I tried to look up the story today to show you. I told you about the couple when I started the show. There was a couple when I got here in 2007. In 2008, Wayne and Ingrid Andrews, who bought that property and got permits and cut down these invasive popcorn trees on their new property in Panama City, and code enforcement hit them with a $200,000 fine. And because they're reasonable, they dropped it down to $70,000. And I wanted to find the news story, and I wanted to share that news story with you. But guess what? You can't. You can't search. It's very difficult these days because things are being wiped. You can't just search the story anymore and find the story. But here's another thing that I've noticed is that the News Herald, ever since 1997, there's a great resource called newspapers.com. It's not cheap, but it's super valuable. You can go to newspapers.com, get a membership, and you can search for, oh my God, you can search for your ancestors and find these incredible pictures of the newspapers and all of these stories from all of these newspapers across the country, except one you can't find, the News Herald. Why since 1997 until now, can't find News Herald stories? It's almost like they don't want you to know the history of Panama City and Bay County, because what they say today is refuted 5 years ago, is refuted 10 years ago. Then you find out, oh, that guy was involved in this, and holy shit, he's involved in. You can't do that, but there is a way to do. You can do it at the library, but they sure make it difficult. You can't find your history in Bay County. What's more valuable to a culture than your history and your scenic, historic areas that the developers and the engineers want to tear up, and the politicians who are their best friends, wipe it out? I want all of those videos and pictures of them destroying that beautiful area to lay down concrete. I want it all preserved historically, because I know they're going to try to bury that too. And that's part of the reason I do what I do, by the way. because it's a story that goes back as long as I've been doing it. Yeah, you get a slant, you get my opinion, but I also try and show you the facts and the data. Can't find that anymore. Anyway, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, Panama City, 5 to 7, Panama City City Hall, 501 Harrison Avenue. That's where you can go to see this unveiling, and we'll find out if they're going to have the third option or if they're not going to have the third option. And if they don't have the third option, no path, well, we've got to write that third option in because it's worth fighting for. Wouldn't you agree? All right, I want to thank those of you who helped me do this, like the Unknown Patriot. As always, thanks for your support. And to those of you who throw a tip in the tip jar at patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It's easy, it's anonymous, and you can quit at any time. But it's the best $5 a month or more that you can spend on the internet. I mean, where do you get more than this? I know that at least it's the best $5 you can spend a month. All right, I will be back soon, and I'll fill you in on what happens tomorrow as Panama City commissioners continue their hell-bent effort to destroy scenic, historic Beach Drive, tear down all the trees, throw down the concrete, and worsen the raw sewage spills. And the people who are doing their best to stop it. I'll fill you in on that just as soon as I can.